continue with the remaining part of the examination of the chest. Okay, remember in the previous videos I discussed about the different means of examining the chest by inspecting the chest physically and also by inspecting the chest through investigations like the x-rays I've discussed, the ultrasound and so on and so forth. And so after inspection, the next thing to do is what we call palpation or percussion. And finally, you have auscultation of the chest. So palpation of the chest is nothing much there. What you can only palpate is the breast. So you know the breast is only palpated while it is grown, especially in the women. So women that have a grown-up breast, those who have reached 15 to 18 years of age, the breast is already fully grown. So you can palpate the breast for any mass. When we hear this word mass, we are talking about swelling. Swelling in the breast is very important. And that is why most of the time, women are always been told every morning before going to shower, they are, advised to palpate their own breast for any mass inside. If you feel an abnormal mass in there, you quickly rush to go and see doctor, because mass in the breast is very, very important, especially for young and even old women. So because the mass may likely be what we call benign mass, or it may be what we call malignant mass. When we hear this word benign, we're talking about mass that is not cancerous, the one that is not a cancer. So like something like what we call lipoma, or benign mass, of the breast, especially lipoma, because breast is made up of mainly fatty tissue. You get it? So glandular tissue and fatty tissue. So lipoma and other masses that are benign can take place in the breast. And at times, a breastfeeding woman or lactating woman can also have some masses in the breast. Those ones are the enlargement of the acini of the breast gland or the mammary. So during lactation is not somehow something to be worried about. When you palpate the breast, you feel some of the masses in the breast. And so I advise any young girl to always try to palpate the breast early in the morning before going to shower, because that will give you a guide or a hint of what is going on. So now again, if it is a malignant mass, you palpate the breast, you will see that, because when you palpate the breast now, it is very soft to touch. But if there are masses inside, the breast may be very firm to touch, or maybe even hard to touch, just like you touch a stone, especially if the tumor there or the mass there is cancerous. If it is cancer, the breast is going to be hard like stone, because all the tissue there is going to be solidified. And so when you touch it, it's going to be very hard to touch. So now the breast mass can be either malignant or benign. So for you to be able to understand that this mass in the breast is not somehow, cancerous or whatever, you have to palpate the axillary lymph nodes. Normally, when you palpate the axilla, you are not likely going to feel the lymph nodes there. The lymph node in the axilla are not supposed to be palpated unless if there are some infections, especially in the breast, what you call mastitis, or any breast, if there is a mass and then you feel enlargement of the lymph node, then definitely it's something to go for further investigation by the doctor. So lymph nodes examination or palpations are very important when you also palpate. So that means every morning a woman is supposed to check her breast to see if there are no masses, and also check the lymph nodes in the axilla to find out that there is no lymph node that is enlarged in there. So these are the major areas of palpation in the chest. And well, it is somehow not surprising to have some masses on the anterior chest wall, because at times lipoma, small swellings or large swellings can be seen on the anterior chest wall. And so that one is something not to be worried about, because lipoma is a benign swelling and can be easily excised without any problem. So that one can also be seen just by mere inspection. So you don't even need to palpate, but you need to palpate for you to be able to know that the texture of the mass itself. So after the palpation, the next thing to do when you're examining, chest, is to do what we call percussion, which is so you percuss. Percussion of the chest, you are going to place your hand, the palm of your hand, touching the surface of the chest. Then you use your index finger to, percuss on your middle finger like this. So you have to be, moving your hand all over the chest, and then you will feel different, sound at different places where you place your palm there. So there are 5 different categories of sounds that you are going to hear. The first one is what we call flatness sound. That flatness, when you place your palm on the bones, especially the ribs and the surface of the sternum and the clavicle, when you percuss over that, you hear this sound, what we call flatness sound. Similarly, when you place your hand where there are some, hard organs, organs that are hard like liver, you get it, or something like heart. When you place your, hand, you percuss. The percussion note is what we call dull percussion. So it's dull to percussion, but that is what we call dullness. So when you percuss, you will hear dull sound. It's not somehow, the pitch is very low, extremely low. That is what we call dullness area of percussion. So you only feel this dullness sound where you percuss a hard organ, like liver is hard tissue. Not hard tissue like bone. It's not as soft as other organs like lungs and what have you. So also heart, the same thing with spleen. So these tissues, when you percuss, you feel, dull, is the adult percussion. So when you percuss areas where they contain some fluid or some substances inside the like stomach and small intestine, because when you eat or when you drink water and other substances, they go into the stomach and the intestine. So when you percuss the area of the stomach, because part of the chest wall now, surround the stomach, and so also part of the lower part of the chest, the liver, when you percuss down there now, the liver is around the lower part of the chest wall. So now when you percuss the stomach and the intestine, that's what we call tympanic sound, just like you are, drumming a drum, drum, ganga, just like you are banging a drum. That is why it is called tympanic sound. It contains some fluid in there. So the same thing when you now percuss the area of the lung tissue, because the lung tissue now contains air. When you percuss, there's what you call resonance sound. You will hear something like you are, banging, just like a drum without anything inside it. But the tympanic is just like a drum that contains water. When you bang it, it will sound tympanic. But without water, empty drum, you bang it, the sound you are going to hear or listen, that is what we call resonance. But that is only heard in adult lungs. But in children or infants, when you percuss the lung tissue, it is hyper resonant because the lungs contains much air. So it's like, the pitch there is higher. The pitch sound is higher than the one you are going to hear in the lungs of the adult. So these are the different varieties of the notes that you are going to listen when you percuss, the chest wall of an adult or of a child. So the last one that you are going to note with regard to the chest is what we call auscultation. When you are examining the chest, you get it. So the auscultation, you use your stethoscope, you listen to the heart sounds. So these heart sounds, there are 4 different areas whereby you are going to listen to them. and then you hear any abnormality of that sound. So it's like we listen to the closure of the valves or the openings of the heart. You know, normally a heart has 4 openings. 2 openings, you know, for the tricuspid valve and aortic valve. Sorry, pulmonary valve and aortic valve. These are valves of the great vessels. You know, you have aorta springing out of the heart so that it ascends up and then curves upward and downward into the chest and then down into the abdomen. So there is a valve, what we call aortic valve, through which when the heart, you know, pumps blood, the blood will now get out of the aortic opening and then enter into the arc of the aorta and then get distributed along the branches of the aorta itself. Similarly, the heart, you know, from the right ventricle, when the heart pumps blood, it gets out of the right chamber of the heart into the pulmonary trunk. So the pulmonary trunk now, you know, it divides into left and the right, into the left and the right lungs. And so the blood from the right chamber during systole, it gets out of the pulmonary trunk to get distributed into the 2 lungs. So after that, the pulmonary trunk valve closes. Similarly, on the left chamber of the heart, left ventricle, when the heart contracts, the blood gets out of the aortic valve and then it gets distributed into different parts of the body. So the aortic valve closes after the blood gets out of it. So these 2 openings, pulmonary trunk closure, you can listen to the valve closure at the second intercostal space towards the midline in the right side. So you listen to the pulmonary valve closure at the right intercostal space close to the border of the sternum. Are you clear? I said that we are going to listen the pulmonary valve closure at the right second intercostal space. I said right second intercostal space close to the midline or close to the border of the sternum. Similarly, the aortic opening closure, receiving blood from the left ventricle, the closure of the aortic valve, the sound can be heard on the left second intercostal space close to the midline. Are you clear? So it's like the opposite. The apex beat of the heart, because you know when the heart contracts, it makes what we call lop dop sound. When the heart contracts, lop dop sound. So it's as a result of this beating. So the apex beat can be heard at the 5th intercostal space mid-clavicular line. This is the formula. 5th intercostal space mid-clavicular line. Are you clear? So the apex beat can be felt at that. So that means if you have a clavicle, at the midpoint of the clavicle, you now draw a line vertically downward. So this is the 5th intercostal space. So at the mid-clavicular line, where this line intersects the 5th intercostal space at the mid-clavicular line, that is where you are going to listen to the apex beat of the heart, and that is the mitral valve opening. You know, the mitral valve, you know, the opening of the blood from the pulmonary veins gets into the left ventricle through the through the mitral valve. The tricuspid valve in the right chamber, you know, it receives blood from the superior vena cava, from the right atrium into the right ventricle through the tricuspid valve. So the tricuspid valve sound is being heard on the 5th intercostal space closer to the midline on the right side. You get it? So that one is not at the mid-clavicular line like that of the left, the apex beat. Are you clear? So these are the 4 places whereby you can auscultate for any anomaly in the heart sound. So if there are abnormal sounds, what we call murmurs, we call them what? Murmurs. So if there are murmurs, these are the abnormal heart sounds. You are going to listen at different areas, these 4 areas, so you can listen to the abnormal closure of these, openings, whether the pulmonary valve, aortic valve, mitral, or the thoracic valves. So this, we have come to the end of this, examination of the chest. But later on, maybe in the next lecture, I'm going to discuss the different procedures that one can do, clinical procedures that one can do in the clinic with regard to the chest, something like thoracotomy, thoracostomy, sternotomy, and so on and so forth. So next lecture will be, or will dwell on the other things that one can do, when you diagnose what is wrong with that person, and then you now, make, a treatment for that person with regard to the chest. So I'm going to have a break now until next, lecture.